today in history. In 1910, the U.S. Senate grants ex-President Teddy Roosevelt an annual pension of $10,000 USD. Now, I have already done the math for those of you wondering, and in today's purchasing power, that is about $298,648 and 42 cents, because let's not forget, which doesn't seem like a whole lot of fucking money for being a president.
Welcome to What the Fuck History, where we discuss the wackiest and weirdest things that make us say, well, what the fuck history. I am your host, Zachary. That's right, nothing fun this time. I'm just here, ready to do my job. Just kidding, I am your captain, Zachary, and I will be taking your ship, sending your crew overboard, and sailing away into the sunset as you marvel at the glorious sight of the best podcast pirate you've ever seen.
We usually try to stay so composed during intros, but I think that one warranted a few smiles.
Yes!
I was so ready. I was just like, all right, I guess he's done. It's my turn. And then I just, I imagine the force of you talking just, blew my face skin back.
Oh, that entire thing happened as if Zach popped up in front of me in real life. I rocked back so hard in my chair.
I am not lying. I pushed away from my desk and, hunkered down, rolled my shoulders forward and tensed every muscle in my body as I fucking full podcast pirated it.
Right.
Full podcast
we should probably
goblin.
keep going, though.
Yeah.
All right. I guess after that, my name is Meghan, and I have been called an elder emo, and I have never been more flattered in my whole life.
And I'm Matt. Today I learned that any flags that had been placed on the moon, if the moon landing did in fact happen, would be bleached white now, making it look like the French are the only ones who have landed on and surrendered from the moon.
I like how they're surrendering to the moon that they landed there, and they're like, "This is really big."
They got threatened by something, one of them tripped on the moon, and it's like, I give up.
I give up. Nothing happened, Jean-Paul. And they're like, but even here, when gravity is not strong, I still succumb to it.
The gravity of this planet is too much. I give up.
We surrender to the cosmos.
I surrender to the cosmos in general.
I hate everything about it.
Why?
Thanks, I hate it.
I think that's what happened when the French got there. Have the French landed on the moon?
I do not believe they have, but because the white flag of surrender now flies on the moon.
Close enough.
No, I understand the joke. I'm well aware of the joke.
No,
now
Meghan.
I'm getting into the facts.
It's not just a joke.
Okay.
It's a fact.
So what you're telling me is Neil Armstrong is now French?
Yes.
Was Neil?
No!
We
by
lost the
association.
national treasure.
I read
French
something
by association.
while I was learning this fact, though. I read something that was like, well, what is America gonna pay NASA to go up there and replace the flag? And someone was like, that is aggressively American and something that we would absolutely do. We would spend billions to put a new flag on the moon every time it bleached white.
Honestly, the American government would spend any amount of money on anything else other than healthcare.
Hey, if you had that on your bingo card, fucking check it off real early.
We're going hard out of the fucking gate.
They're like, hey, we have $1 billion. What should we do with it? And someone was
to the moon!
Fund healthcare.
To the moon!
And they're like, no, go to the moon again.
Yeah, Zach,
One more time.
if any evidence was needed of us going hard tonight, it's your fucking intro.
You make a point there. There.
All right, listen here, you rambunctious little shits. The strikes have been set to 0 except mine, which is 1 because I made a terrible joke before the podcast. And maybe, just maybe, I'll make it again for you all and get a second strike. Rock, paper, scissors has been played, and the order for tonight is Zach, followed by Meghan, followed by me.
Yes, indubitably. Now, My intro was a little,
Aggressive.
it was aggressive, and I'm not gonna lie, it had
One
very
could
little to do with
say.
my story for once.
Sexually frustrating.
Sexually charged.
It was,
Yeah,
which has
honestly,
led to
it
me
was
being sexually
charged.
frustrated.
Ah, yes. The age-old
Which
problem.
led to me being sexually confused, I suppose. Because I thought it was time for my intro.
Something about
I don't know if that
Newton's
makes
first...
you sexually confused, Megan. I think it just makes you generally confused.
I think we have
Well, I guess.
just gone through Newton's laws of sexual attraction, but we're just gonna,
I need
Deal with
that
that another
book.
time.
I need the book of Newton's laws of sexual
Oh,
attraction.
dude. Maybe I'll make that gift tomorrow.
Please
at
do.
work.
Newton's laws of
Laws
sexual
of
attraction.
attraction.
All right. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm losing it.
We're all losing
Yeah,
it.
aren't we
We're
all?
already lost, baby boy.
So, my opening had very little, but still something to do with the my story. But mostly it was just because I'm excited for the possibility of privateering to become legal in the United States. I will be putting a crew together, just saying. However,
Is Grandpa gonna tell a story about pirates?
no, I'm going to talk
Am I
to
gonna
you
be on the
today.
crew?
Yeah, you can be on the crew. All of our podcast friends and listeners, if you support us, you can be on my pirate crew. Anyway, I'm not talking about pirates today. I am talking about Robert Smalls today.
Robert Smalls.
That sounds like a pirate.
Yes, but Robert Smalls began his life on April 5th, 1839, where he begins his life as a slave on the McKee plantation. Yeah, this story doesn't exactly get a happy beginning, but I promise it gets good.
Does it get a happy ending? Boom.
I'm ignoring that.
Oh,
confused
come
yet.
on. The sexy
We
boy
can't-
himself is ignoring an innuendo.
I feel
Innuendo.
like you're
Anyway.
not allowed
There we
to stop it.
So now, when Robert was younger, he was a little bit more favored than the other slave children, and that was because his father may have very well been the plantation owner himself, or the plantation owner's son, or the plantation manager. No one is actually sure who Robert's dad was, but it made things a little bit easier for him. Which
Could be anyone.
I was going to say, I know that sounds like I'm really undercutting the horrors that is the institution of slavery that this country did, and I am saying it's easier, but that is extremely relative.
Well, I mean,
was-
yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah, it's not great,
Yeah.
but if
It's
you
not
happen
great.
to be the son of the plantation owner slash plantation owner's son slash,
Plantation
I mean,
manager.
you get,
whipped a little bit less.
yeah.
Your-
It's
Yeah.
not,
Your
it's still
benefits
not
package
great,
exists.
guys. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
I was going to say.
Slavery was a stain on this nation's so pure legacy. Trail of
Anywho.
Tears
I like
who?
Zach's throat.
Oh, gosh. Anyway.
Issue.
So yes, he was still a human literally owned by another human, treated like a piece of property rather than a living person. And that's bullshit to say the least.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Robert, in his teen years, he gets sent out to Charleston, South Carolina, because his mother is like, you can't really treat him better than the other boys. It's making me look bad. It's making him look bad. It's making everybody hate him. Just go send him to the town and have him do stuff there. So, he gets sent to Charleston, South Carolina to be rented out for work there. That sentence just makes my skin crawl.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, everything about this story is a
That's a
yuckums for
lot.
sure.
Yes, big yuckums energy. So he tries a number of jobs and he learns a lot of different things. He is a quick learner. He's a very smart man. But most importantly, he becomes very educated about the water and the docks of Charleston, South Carolina. And at the age of 19, Robert gets a job on the USS Planter, a steamer ship that is operated out of Charleston's port. On this ship, he also meets his wife, and they would eventually have 2 children, but they're all still slaves, and that really fucking sucks. So,
Yeah, but at least he found a little bit of happiness.
exactly, and he worked really hard for everything. I mean, I say that, and that sounds really shitty, but, like, he was a very smart person, and he did his best to learn a lot of things. And at one point, he actually goes to the owners of his wife, and is like, I want to buy out my wife's contract. I want to, buy out.
Can you imagine? Like, what a horrible...
Yeah. No, it's...
You know what? I don't know why I'm saying that this is any different from, like, hi, I'd like to have your daughter's hand in marriage. Okay, well, how much is the dowry?
Yeah. But it's it's kind of a little...
I know it's a little...
Let's just say that a lot of
Both are
archaic
shitty.
shit has happened in our country, and we're
will give you
happy.
5
We're happy
cows.
that the world is. I can't even say it's better because racism is still alive and well in America.
It's not better. Nothing
is
is better. Anyway, please continue with your story, Zach. I really took us on a horrible downward spiral.
That's
You're
okay.
welcome, everyone.
But
You're
yeah,
welcome,
basically... Yeah, right. You're welcome for your depression. So
That's why I'm here.
He tries to buy out his wife's contract, and the owners give him a ridiculous number of $800, and that is in 1862 money, which I didn't do the math, but it's a lot.
That's insane, though.
Mostly because at this point, Robert Smalls has $100 to his name.
Well, that's what I'm like. First of all, he's a slave, so he's getting paid. Not at all, really.
Nothing.
Yeah, really.
Probably like a nickel a day, if anything.
Yeah.
So the fact that he has $100 to his name is incredible, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do the math for us really quick, Zach. What was the, if you keep telling your story, what was the name, what was the year?
1862.
Okay.
The total was $800.
$800. So he tries to buy out his wife's contract, and the owners give him the worst fucking number ever, and it's this ridiculous number. And so life continues on.
shit.
What?
It's $22,472 in today's money.
Yep. So more than twice as much that I paid for my car.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, and like when you're not getting paid, like
Yep.
you don't have that much money knocking around.
Exactly. So as I mentioned, it is 1862, and at this point, that means the Civil War is in full swing, and South Carolina is on the border of the North and South. It is a very big and important point. So the Union Navy has set up a blockade around the Atlantic, forcing the Confederates to hunker down in Charleston, right where one Robert Smalls lives. So every day, he and his family see the promise of freedom on the horizon as they work on the steamer ship that sits in the bay, which is really fucking shitty. But this steamer ship, like, basically its job is to take supplies to different forts along the coast and basically supply stuff to Confederate forts. So on the night of May 12th, 1862, the captain of the USS Planter, one C.J. Rayla, yeah, I think I'm saying that right.
It doesn't matter. He's a fucking slave owner person.
Yes.
Guy.
So C.J. Rayla
That's true.
decides to leave the ship in order to visit family or go out and have a few drinks. It's never fully clarified why. But he goes and leaves the ship. And this is where the story gets interesting.
Oh my god, he steals the ship.
Because Smalls wasn't able to hold a rank, and because he was a slave, he was not able to hold rank on the ship because he was a slave. But he was the one who steered the ship most of the damn time. So when the captain and the entire white crew took the night off and left the ship,
Oh my god, he stole the ship.
Oh my
there was an
God.
opportunity.
He's like, I took my chance.
He took his chance. So Smalls rallies the entire crew of slaves and dons Captain Rayla's big straw hat that was very pronounced and known that Captain Rayla wore.
Oh,
And the
fuck
men
yeah.
start the engine on the USS Planter and hoist the Confederate colors and leave the docks at 2 a.m.
He rolled stealth, right? Stealth and persuasion. He was like, yes.
He rolled persuasion first for the crew, and then he rolled
Yeah.
deception for the ship. It was like
Yeah.
a combined ship roll of deception,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. It's like, I'm going to need you to make 2 rolls for me here.
So here's the thing. For all of the D&D nerds out there, it's even
The only people
better
who
because
listen
he
to this podcast.
absolutely rolled a natural 20 on both of those.
Yes.
Amen, brother.
So they start the engine, they leave the docks at 2 a.m., and then
Gentlemen, start your engines.
they very carefully pick up all of Smalls' family, 4 other women, 3 men, and a child.
There you go.
So they load up this
that
fucking
guy?
boat so those people that I listed and 7 of the crew, including Smalls.
Yes.
And then at 4:15 a.m., they pass Fort Johnson, no relation, which is a Confederate fort in South Carolina, and Smalls blows the ship's whistle. Because, remember how I said that he steered the ship most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That also meant he knew every Confederate Navy signal.
Oh.
So he does the proper signaling to tell them that we're just a ship passing through, and does his best to not only do that, but stand, move, and act like Captain Rayla. Big straw hat apparently really helped, because the bunch of Confederates see them, literally think it's an entire crew full of white dudes, and Captain Rayla, and let the ship pass.
Yeah, but it's like
Also,
middle
it's
of the
dark,
night, too,
right?
so he probably had advantage on that deception check.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
they
true.
planned this in the right way. So then they head right for the Union blockade, where they lower the Confederate colors and run up a white flag of truce. Now, some guy, I can't remember the name, it's not really important, but basically some guy saw them change and the ship almost got hit
Blown up.
blown up, but it didn't, and they end up getting received by the Union Navy. And Smalls would then go on to unload everyone, help everyone get to freedom, and decide to take that freedom and go kick some ass, all while South Carolina puts a $4,000 bounty on his head.
What's that in today's money?
What? It was $4,000.
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
$111,345 and 74
I
cents.
love the
Fuck yeah.
emphasis that we're putting on ands now to remind
Oh, yeah.
people that change
And-
exists. Oh, yeah. And
And
And listen, it adds up.
it does
Does
add
add
up.
up.
That's almost a quarter. That's almost a fourth of a dollar.
I love that Zach and
Come
I
on.
said that at the exact same time. It does add up.
So when Smalls gets back and works with the Union, he helps start a program that helps recruit black soldiers that is later adopted by Abraham Lincoln. And not only by the time that Abraham Lincoln adopts this plan, Robert Smalls himself has brought on 5,000 black soldiers to the Union Army.
Oh, my God.
He also returned to the planter after Congress refashioned the ship to be a Union Navy ship as the pilot,
Yes.
where he participated
kept
in
it.
17 military actions and eventually would become the captain of the planter himself.
Ayo!
He is the captain now.
Who's the captain now?
Just reminds me of the Captain Phillips. I'm the captain now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
After the war, Smalls then goes back to South Carolina and says, fuck you, I'm running for office, where he wins and ends up serving in the state assembly and senate and then 5 non-consecutive terms in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Woo! Did he also find his
shit.
former plantation owner and kick him directly in the ball sack?
Oh, this is where it gets even better.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Robert Smalls dies on February.
How is
of
that
nine-
better?
Oh, what do you
Wait
mean?
for it.
Okay.
Robert Smalls dies in February of 1915 in the same house he was born in. Why?
He bought the house?
Ultimate fuck you. He purchased the house and land of his former masters.
Yes!
Yes.
Yes!
So
He was like, you're like, it gets better. He dies. And I was like, wait.
well, he was born in like 1800s. Yeah, he's going to be dead. But at the same time, it's awesome that he's like, yes, please, I'll take that house because fuck you.
And you know what the best
I'll
part
take
of
that
that
house.
story is?
He had enough
Nobody
money to purchase a
knows
house
his
on a
father's
salary.
name, but we remember his.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, no, yep, I love that. But yes, that is the story of Robert Smalls, who was born a slave, stole a United States steamer boat, gained his freedom, went on to serve in the military, went on to serve in the United States Senate, bought his former master's house, and died a hero. It's
A hero
fucking
and a
awesome.
free man.
Maybe
A hero and a
maybe
free man.
his dad's house. We can't really
Oh
say.
my God. That's a great story.
I thought it was
that
a
is a
little
really
bit.
good story.
We needed some cheer in
We
our
did
trying
need some
times.
cheer, yeah.
Well, yeah, well, it's been a lot. It's been
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
over the
no.
past month.
Nowadays, all the cheer we can get.
Exactly.
Bring in the cheer wine.
That is my story.
holiday
That is the
cheermeister.
story of Robert Smalls, and I am so happy I got to tell it.
Yeah, it's great.
When you said Robert Smalls, I thought we were going for like more of an Italian gangster because it just seems like
No, that would be
No.
Johnny Two Shoes.
I was about to say
well-
Mikey the Baba. That's a fucking Italian mob name.
Oh, no, but like, come on. The
Okay,
Smalls
no,
feels
all right.
like-
Yeah,
Let's,
all right.
Okay, here,
What?
let's be
What?
honest.
What?
If it was about a
Yes.
mobster, Zach would have started his story in a much
With that
different
accent?
way.
That's
And his
would've
intro
started
would have
my
been
intro.
all like New York Italian.
My intro would have started, and I would have done my best stank all the entire time.
I could have been a
I would have said, "You come to me on the day of this podcast."
We gotta march along here.
you ask
My
me to
coworkers, in this podcast game have an early morning that they warned me about, so I have to do
And
the
we're
podcast.
not paying attention to it.
I have to do the podcast ad thing and usher us along. Megan, tell us more about your
he-
story. Actually, first,
All right.
start by telling us what you named
Yeah.
your notes.
Ooh, yes.
My notes are entitled "Whatever You're Paying That Man, It Wasn't Enough."
Oh, I mean, that sounds like the story of our lives.
This sounds like an international tale of intrigue and capitalism
my.
gone
It-
wrong.
So just capitalism.
Maybe I don't.
Or yeah, no,
I don't know.
capitalism for
It's
sure.
it's more of I read this story and I was like, damn, no one could pay me enough to do what these people do.
Hey, it's a
So
living.
anyway, I don't know. Is it? You can.
It's a
you
dirty
can
job,
judge
but
for
somebody's
yourself.
got to do it.
Dude, I love Dirty Jobs.
Dirty Jobs is
I would
such a good
never-
show.
Oh, such a good show.
What a good show.
Whatever they're
Anyway.
paying that man,
Anyway.
he needs more.
Oh, they are. Dude, every time he goes to a job, he's just like, "Hi, I'm here. I don't know why my producers would do this to me. I understand I've been doing this for 400 years because that's how long Dirty Jobs has been on the
It certainly
air."
has.
Anyway, so I guess like at the end of the story, you can tell me how well my title fit into it, as I always let you guys do.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Megan.
so
Megan,
let's
okay.
just dive
Okay,
in.
Megan.
Yeah, okay. Does that sound good for you? I need your writing in I need your consent in writing. I am reading the Christian Grey version of 50 Shades of
I mailed
Grey.
it to you
hate
3
myself
days
for
ago.
it. Okay, amazing.
I'm not
Thank
signing
you.
the NDA, but you please continue.
At least someone signed the contract. Now that we are living through World War III,
Yeah.
I think it's important to review some more aspects of the last WW. That's
You're
right.
in my fucking backyard again.
I am here once more, coming to you.
I really love that Megan just gave off. I fully gave off the dad energy of being like, "Why are you in my yard?" And Megan gave off the perfect kid who lost his ball in their yard energy. Just like, that's right. I'm
Yep,
here
I'm here.
again.
What are you gonna do?
I'm here again
here
to
once
get my
more.
ball out of your backyard.
Well, I thought I was like giving off Bernie Sanders, like
I'm once again
Sure.
asking for your
Once
money.
again, asking for your money.
I'm once again here in Matt's sandbox, bringing to you yet another story about World War II, the WW. But unlike most of the other times, I am technically I am like technically in my sandbox
Okay.
tonight. Yeah, because I'm going to be talking about East Asia.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
okay.
Yeah. That's fair.
Okay. Here I am in your sandbox and my sandbox.
You got your sandbox
sand-
in my sandbox.
1 foot
Yeah,
in
we are-
each box.
each sandbox. So specifically, I'm going to be talking about the Japanese Imperial Army.
Okay.
Yeah. You could have
Uh,
counted on me to
yeah.
never know this story existed.
Okay, so here we go. Now, Japan had really changed since the 1860s thanks to the Meiji Restoration. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Meiji Restoration happened after Commodore Perry came knocking on Japan's door. Stop it! And he was just like, hello, I'd like to trade. And the Japanese were like, no, thank you. We have really tried. We have a hedge. Please don't come over the hedge. We want to be left alone. And he was like, yeah, but have you seen my warships? And Japan kind of like in Home Improvement, like peeked their eyes
I was about
over
to
the
say,
hedge.
I'm just imagining Commodore Perry like Wilson in Home Improvement, where it's just like the nose above the fucking fence. Do you want to see my warships?
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, hey, can I interest you in my warships? And they're like, no, thank you. He's like, oh, I'm going to interest you in my warships. You better open up and trade. And so they
And
did.
Japan's
And
like,
essentially-
huh?
yeah, they're like,
Hey, if you guys had Zach making the fucking Home Improvement sound on your bingo card, tick it off.
that wasn't there. No one had that.
No, I mean, he's done
No
it
one had
enough. It should be on the bingo card.
I think it should
I
be
don't know,
Zach
dude.
makes inappropriate but well-timed noise.
That one's
That's
kind of
fair.
specific,
Yeah, I'll go with
though.
that one.
Yeah, okay, fine. I think it's less specific than Home Improvement noise, but okay, whatever.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, like, I think you've made the Home Improvement noise enough for it to have its own slot on the bingo card.
Oh, okay.
Or anytime that you talk with a Kermit the Frog voice.
Hi,
That's-
ho,
yeah,
Kermit the
that's
Frog.
Okay. We knocked two
okay,
of them
okay,
out.
okay.
We knocked
Please
two of
We
them
did
out.
it.
Megan, I'd like it if you just continue your story, please. Thank you.
Oh, I'm here for it. So anyway, they rapidly industrialize is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And of course, in that industrialization, their army went from a bunch of traditional fighters to an army that could defeat literally Russia.
Yeah.
Hashtag bring back the Russian defeating Japanese
Hey,
army
or
is what I'm
The
saying.
Ukrainians are defeating the Russian army just fine on their own. Thanks.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they don't need our help. Please.
No, they do need our help and our support. But
No, they do need our help. They need our help and our support. But what
they're
if
doing
we
all
brought
right.
back?
They're doing okay.
We believe in them,
The
but it
Russian
also helps to
defeating
believe in
Japanese
them with
army.
more bullets.
Yeah, what we're saying is more aid to Ukraine.
Yes. Yeah. That's what let's move on, shall we?
So their army at this point could defeat a European power. They had modernized so quickly that when they were ready to go into World War I, they were responsible for helping to win the war. However, when they went to go reap the benefits during the Treaty of Versailles, they were treated like second-class global citizens by the Western nations, and they went back home with a really bad taste in their mouths. They're like, why did we do all
That
this
doesn't
work?
sound like something the white people would do.
I know, that's
No,
so
not at all.
weird, so out of character. It's not. Cue the setup for World War II. And now we have an enraged Germany, a bitter Japan, and a well-seasoned Italy who join together as the
Well
Allies.
seasoned.
Everything in Italy is well seasoned.
Hey, you said it before me.
I was like, what's a good adjective?
You know what's really great is this is gonna pair so well with my story.
Like
Oh,
a
that's
fine
good.
wine in Italian foods.
Yeah.
Heyo.
Oh, yeah. Heyo. So for Japan, World War II was tinged with fanaticism, right? This was due to the Japanese government's promotion of Bushido culture, the code that the samurai had lived by, and it emphasized honor, courage, and self-sacrifice. It's why we saw a prevalence of kamikaze fighters and why Western soldiers feared going up the Japanese. They fought with a divine vengeance, essentially.
Gotcha.
It's also why there were so many stories about Japanese soldiers who refused to stop fighting years after the conflict ended in September of 1945.
Are you saying that the Japanese believed they had God and anime on their side?
I am saying they had God and anime on their side, and it led to some pretty wild stories of soldiers holding out.
See, I was gonna go the opposite way and continue with our D&D theme and be like, so you're telling me they were all paladins?
Paladin samurais
know.
could happen.
Paladin samurais, I guess, could happen. Don't they have a samurai
They do. It's
homebrew?
not even a homebrew anymore. It's a fighter
It's-
subclass.
Oh, yeah. It's
yeah,
already
yeah,
made
yeah,
for
yeah,
us,
yeah.
Zach. It's already here for us.
All right, anyway, some people holding out.
So the reason for these soldiers holding out was, one, like I said, Bushido, and two, the Japanese island hopped throughout the Pacific, and news of the surrender was slow to get to all of the units that were stationed everywhere. Communication sort of broke down after the surrender. So one of the first holdouts to surrender was a unit of 46 men on the island of Saipan, who finally called it quits in December of 1945. Now, remember, the Japanese surrendered in September.
Okay.
So it was a few months later.
Just a few.
Yeah, it was just a few. Not terrible. However, more holdouts made it to the late 40s.
Oh.
And 50s.
Oh.
And beyond, with the most famous being a man named Hiro Onoda, who emerged from the Philippine jungle and gave himself up in 1974.
Jeez.
Imagine holding a grudge
So he was-
for that long.
Yeah, dude, he was like, "Is the war over?"
But it's not even a grudge. It's literally like no one's told me to
No one
stop
told
fighting,
me.
so I'm just doing my job.
He just sees a white person on vacation and he shoots him.
Yeah. No, like cuz that's your
That's his
fucked.
job, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally his job.
He's like, repel
So
the invaders.
The story behind Onoda was that he had served as an intelligence officer assigned to conduct guerrilla raids in the mountains of Lubang Island. And he and 3 other soldiers had kept fighting years after the war had ended. And eventually news of the surrender reached them, but they refused to believe it.
They thought it was like
They were like-
propaganda. Or like
Yeah,
someone
pretty
yelling
much.
Ollie Ollie Oxen free in a game of hide and seek.
They thought it was the American government playing a trick on them.
That doesn't
They-
sound like something
they-
the American government would do.
No, not
Yeah,
at
we're
all.
so-
It's not like we
they
tried
were
to
just, like,
trick
so
Viet Cong soldiers into
transparent.
thinking there was ghosts.
Woo!
Yeah, we would never
We'd
do
never.
that. We would never.
We would never.
Anyway.
Hey, look me in the eyes. We would never.
I can't look
So-
you in the eyes and say that.
You can't look me in the eyes and lie like that. So he explained that he had received an order, and if he could not carry it out, he would feel shame because he was very competitive as well.
Okay.
That was in 2010 when he was interviewed. Even when the Japanese government dropped flyers on the island that he was stationed on, pleading for him to come home, like before he surrendered in 1974, he, like I said, he believed it was an American trick. And in the end, the Japanese government had to fly in Onoda's former commanding officer to personally beg him to give up.
Jeez.
They were like, is this guy still alive? He's the only one this dude's gonna listen to. Like,
Wait, so you said he was out with 3 other of his compatriots. Did they also surrender at the same time as him, or did they die before then?
it's unclear. The story's mostly focused on Hiro Onoda. It didn't really talk about the 3 other officers and what their fates were. Unfortunately.
I will say, like, there's some fucking commitment in that dude. And in a world full of Tinder where dudes can't commit to a relationship for
God.
more than 2 months, that's some fucking impressive commitment.
Yeah, like, so that's always the thing. Like, I've seen this story a few times, and that's always what's very impressive to me. It's like, the war ended
Yeah.
in 45.
And he
And, like-
stayed on for 30 more years.
Yeah.
But the question that I have, I guess, and I'm sure that there's more to this story unless there isn't, but the question that I have
There's a little bit more.
is how, like, did he have enough supplies to last him 30 years? Did he have to, like, did he eventually
No,
go
he
into
was-
a village to, like, buy more ammo? Like,
So he was a specialist in guerrilla tactics and guerrilla raids.
Right.
So already he was trained as like a survivalist.
Yeah,
So he
yeah.
was trained to
Right.
be in this situation
yeah,
for
I
a
mean,
long
like, I
time.
get that he was trained to do that, but, like, you don't make X number of rations last 30 fucking years.
No, he probably
No,
hunted
what-
and like
Yeah, that's kind of
survived.
I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, to what extent did he?
Yeah, and I'm and this is me not knowing exactly what the rules are for guerrilla tactics, right? Like, I don't know if you get dropped in a jungle on a foreign island and you're like, all right, I'm here to conduct war, but also, I guess, make friends with the locals. Like, do you think they'll help me? I don't know what the rules are there.
Yeah, so, like, the basis of guerrilla warfare is just, like, a lot of
Surprise attacks.
I'd imagine that there's an element of, like, they probably do get to know the locals and probably do get them to help, but you said he was on the Philippines?
Yeah, he was on a Philippine island.
Yeah, so I don't imagine that, like, I'd imagine if he was getting any of the locals to help him, at one point one of them would be like, this dude's crazy, and we should definitely...
avoid,
he becomes like a local legend / crazy
To be
person,
fair, they probably
right?
helped him because the alternative is, like, him deciding to just kill them all.
Break into their homes.
Where it's one of those situations where, I mean, I imagine that if I saw a person that was actively thinking they were in World War II still, I probably would not point out the fact that World War II ended and we're in, you know... The war so nice, we did it thrice.
Yeah. It's like, it's 1973. It's over.
Yeah.
That fucking scene from Ferris Bueller, like, it's over.
Go home. It's over.
It's over.
Why
Go
are you
home.
still
He's
here?
Like, this is an American trick.
Yeah. Especially because it's Matthew Broderick's beautiful young face.
Oh my god. Simba. When his commanding officer, went to, like, beg him to come home, he did agree. And he received a hero's welcome when he arrived back in Japan, which, dude, I cannot imagine. Like, after being feral for, like, 30 years and then going back to 70s Japan.
Yeah, how do you, like get over that? That's such culture shock. Like, such...
That is a culture shock. That's a huge difference in technology, in, like, societal values. Like,
how long did he live after? Is he still alive now, or how long did he live after the...
So he gave an interview in 2010, which is when he was like, hey, I'm really competitive. I would have felt a lot of shame.
Yeah.
If I had, like, given up. But he died in 2014.
I was only thinking, like, so the thing that came to mind when you guys were talking about the cultural differences and, like, all that shit was just the scene from fucking Shawshank Redemption where, what's his name, Brooks gets out of prison, and there are cars all of a sudden, and he's just like, I don't think I can live in a world this fast.
Yeah.
And he just decides to end his life.
Live in a world this...
But I had forgotten that you mentioned he did an interview in 2010.
Into that. Yeah, it was a quick thing. But yeah, I mean, he lived until 2014. That's a pretty long time to live after his eventual surrender. Now, like I said, there have been, there were other people who surrendered in the 40s and 50s. And there were people who did come forward after Onoda. However, their stories haven't been verified. Like, some of the holdouts are as late as 2005, but people are
that's probably bullshit.
Yeah, they're like, we kind of can't prove.
Yeah.
That you...
As someone fucking stands up and goes, yeah, well, I was hiding in the woods till 2005, and someone's like, sit down, Frank, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, dude, like, this isn't about you. We found this guy on an island.
We literally had to send his commanding officer out to find him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, we had to dig this guy up. We didn't even know if he existed.
Your mom says that you just fell asleep on a friend's couch. You fantasized your entire role in the war.
Oh my god.
That's
so
crazy.
I guess, like, I wanted to do this story too, because while it is real, it's wild, and it is an act of. He believed it was an act of courage, though, but it was like on a side that was considered an enemy, right? Like, if this was an American soldier during World War II, we would have been like, wow, what a fucking hero,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, side of the Allies. But because it was an Axis power,
Yeah.
and this guy held out for so long, and he's considered a Japanese war hero for a war that was considered
Over and done
not
with.
great, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely
well,
not
also
great.
it's World War II, and Japan was on the side of Germany. It raises some interesting questions about like what makes a hero, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Japan had won and we were 80 years removed from World War II, this dude would have been like a legend.
Yeah.
And he kind of is. Like, I wouldn't be willing to live out in the jungle that long for any cause.
Yeah.
But
Not even if you were ultra
he's-
competitive.
no, surprisingly, no.
Surprisingly, nah.
Like I said,
guess
they
competitive
did not
has a
pay him
different
enough.
meaning nowadays than it did back then.
Maybe. But no, like, I mean, I think the point that Meghan is making is very compelling and very interesting. Like, heroes are defined by who is, objectively, who is
victor.
saying it.
Right.
You know, like, and,
Yeah.
you know, they have the saying that history is written by the victor. And I think that somehow heroes can transcend who wins and who loses. You can have a hero whether you win or lose the full thing because of someone doing something.
You know, the question
Like
I
this.
have after hearing you say that is, who the fuck is Victor?
Oh, jeez. And that's a strike.
All
That's a
right,
fucking
fine.
strike.
That is a strike. But no, that's what I was trying to get.
Yeah,
to,
like, it
Zach.
is
It's
No, I
amazing
mean,
to
like,
see-
I fully understood the point. I'm just saying, you know. It do
Making
be
jokes. I
crazy.
got you.
Like, it is really crazy. Like even now, we're seeing how history is being twisted. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that any of us can fucking turn on the news and not look at that and be like, I wonder what they're going to say about that in, 10 years' time. Like,
Yeah.
even if World War III doesn't really last that long, or even if this doesn't end up being, like, a full-blown war,
Well,
which
yeah.
it doesn't look like it. I mean, not to, make light of what's going on in Ukraine, but
no, but I
the world
understand
is
what you
pretty much
mean.
unified in its hatred of the way that Russia is handling this
Everything.
situation.
Pointedly looking at you, China.
Yeah.
Please, maybe do more.
But it's one of those things where, like, I will watch snippets of the news and be like, I wonder what that's gonna look like in 10 years. I wonder what that's
Yeah.
I wonder who's gonna say that this happened when it didn't, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to be a grandfather and have one of these fucking kids go, Grandpa, what was World War III like?
One of these fucking
One of these
kids.
fucking kids. One of my fucking progeny.
God.
Anyways.
But that was my story.
Yeah.
What a great
So-
story, though.
I think that your title aptly fits it.
I
for sure.
also
Oh,
think so.
thank
I
you.
think they
Thank
definitely
you.
needed to pay that guy more.
Whatever they were paying
It wasn't
him,
enough.
it wasn't enough.
All right, I'm going to launch into my story now, if that's cool.
Do it.
Absolutely.
Do it. I'm waiting.
Friends and countrymen and wonderful, beautiful listeners, today I am bringing you the story of the Battle of Zappolino.
Zappolino.
This is a war that happened in the year of our Lord 1325 in Italy.
Hey, Matt. I have to ask
Uh-huh.
one thing real quickly.
What?
We have had an entire episode entitled Italian Hands You Can Feel. Can you just put a little bit of Italian stank on at least one word? Just to make me happy?
I can go back and do you want me to do the Zappolino with a little bit more?
Yeah, just a little bit of stank.
Hold
just
on,
on that
I'm just
one,
gonna.
and then
All
after
right,
that.
hang on. I'm getting my hand in the right position.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Today I bring you the story of the Battle of Zappolino.
Thank you.
Stop it.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's
is
what
that
I
cool?
needed. Yep,
All right.
absolutely.
Okay, great. So this is a battle that happened in the year of our Lord 1325 in Italy, and it happened between the town of Bologna and Modena. Modena!
Yeah, there we go. Can you give me the razzle dazzle where the dazzle is due?
Yeah, I'll razzle and dazzle all up in this bitch, only for Steve to tell us that I'm wrong. So the spaghetti bolognese army ends up totaling around 30,000 soldiers, with 2,000 cavaliers, and the Modenese only mustered around 5,000 soldiers and 2,000 cavaliers. And the Modenese also took lessons from the Anakin Skywalker School of Battle, in that they ended up in the low ground.
Oh, jeez.
However,
I thought you meant they were going to murder children.
yeah, no, not that severe.
No, I thought
they were merely going to kill kids. But it does turn out that the spaghetti bolognese had in fact underestimated the Modenese army's power, because after about an hour, the Modenese had the bolognese on the run back to their city. This is just this is a lot of nays, and I'm surprised we don't have some mayonnaise to go with it.
Oh, jeez.
A lot of nays, you're saying.
Watch me whip, watch me nays.
Okay.
And it's probably the Modenese, if I'm being honest. The Modenese took the opportunity to do a little bit of light property damage.
Oh, okay. Lovely.
Even when I was doing my research, it was described as like light property damage.
And I just one window so they know who's boss.
I was literally picturing the scene in fucking the Avengers Endgame, or whichever one had the time heist part, where they ask the Hulk to destroy some things, and he just like gently hits a car and like flips something over, and he's like, it just feels so weird. Just feels played out. And they basically do the same thing. They engage in a little bit of property damage, and then they destroyed a sluice gate, which helped Bologna supply itself with fresh water. And even though they could have, the Modenese decided not to destroy the city, which was really nice of them. Instead, they decided to mock the Bolognese army by holding an athletic event outside the gates. And then they took their spiciest meatball, because it's a spaghetti bolognese. No, they decide to hold an athletic event outside the gates of the city and essentially mock the Bolognese people. And then they left, taking the honor of the Bolognese with them, as well as another bucket.
The honor.
And another bucket. Because what I failed to mention at the outset of my story is that the Battle of Zappolino is more commonly referred to as the War of the Oaken Bucket.
Okay, I am confused and very
aroused.
intrigued.
No, your voice just had that slight uptick.
I'm always aroused.
Oh, fair enough. That's my secret, Cap.
Right.
I'm always
aroused.
That's my secret.
So the reason this particular battle started in the first place is because a group of Modenese soldiers snuck into the heart of the spaghetti bolognese and stole a spicy meatball. No, sorry, my notes are wrong. They stole an oaken bucket that they used to get water from the well in the center of town.
Okay.
That is where the significance of this bucket ends.
So these two people went to war over a fucking bucket.
It was not a bucket made from wood harvested from Noah's Ark. It was not a bucket made with gold inlay and fine craftsmanship. It was literally just
an oak bucket.
It was just an oaken bucket that they used to grab well water from the center of town. And what's really funny is that the fucking Modenese, when they left, took another bucket that was outside the city
Just for shits and grins.
And just like, they were like, you know what? You started this fight over a fucking bucket.
I guess we'll take 2.
We dare you to do it again. They just took
that.
a bucket. They took a bucket that had absolutely no significance to anyone or anything. It doesn't make sense.
No, okay, but it does make sense in the end. Because I don't know about you, but if someone, like if my Home Depot guy, listeners.
If my Home Depot man, he has a personal
Oh,
Home
yeah,
Depot
guys.
shopper.
Zach has a war raging with an old boomer from Home Depot.
Home Depot.
Oh, yeah. The way that you started the story, Zach, I had forgotten about your war with the Home Depot man, was I have a personal Home Depot secret shopper.
Yep.
I've got a wood guy at the Home Depot. He could make me an oaken
I have
bucket,
a
no
wood
problem.
guy.
But like if my Home Depot
Nemesis.
guy, my Home Depot nemesis, if you will, decided to like
And I
be
will.
really petty about it, and like I would definitely cut in line again
Yeah.
on purpose this time and be like, yeah, I am fucking special. What are you going to do about it?
Mommy called me a special boy.
Also, listeners, I'm sorry that you have no idea what the context of this story
Guys,
is.
the context of the story is that Zach, unfortunately and unbeknownst to himself, cut in line at a Home Depot, and a boomer decided to Karen all over him. These are words that will make no sense in context or out of context to the fucking aliens that stumble on these recordings eventually.
But yes, so someone slighted me after I did something on accident.
It was a
and
slight
now,
on my honor.
if I ever come in contact with them again, I will be petty about it. And I think that that's the main point of this whole war thing.
That really is.
They took a bucket to get some water. Whoop-de-fucking-do. An entire army was like, you took our bucket. We're going to have to kill you for that. And then
They did not take the bucket to get water. They just took the bucket.
Oh.
Yeah, they were just like, this is
They were
my
just
bucket
like, we're
now.
taking this bucket.
Ooh, I like this
give me the
bucket.
bucket.
Okay, now I'm
Yeah.
a little less
And
understanding.
It's the equivalent of going onto someone else's lawn and being like, I love this lawn, Flamingo. Like, I have one
at home, but I will
want
also take yours. So the Bolognese asked for the bucket back. They asked for it to be returned. The Modenese said no, which led to war being declared.
Okay, but like, why would you just not give the bucket back?
Because they were being petty.
Yes, they were being petty. I'm so glad people haven't changed.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I feel like a lot of people say that, like, you know, the root of war is, you know, not having enough in the world.
Yeah.
Or like as a society, but really,
Turns
we
out that
should
buckets
know.
are the root of all evil.
I was gonna say that the root of all war and evil in the world is just pettiness.
Pettiness, for
being
sure.
a little petty bitch.
So the Modenese won the war and got to leave with their honor, a victory, and an extra bucket.
So is this really a war or is it a battle?
So it
Like,
was
how
a
long did
battle.
this last?
So the greater context for this, they call it the War of the Oaken Bucket, but
Yeah.
really, the greater context for this battle was that these two places had been part of a greater conflict between the Guelphs. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong. I know, no, I lied.
Guelphs.
I know that I'm saying it wrong. And I am waiting for Steve to send me a voice recording of him pronouncing it correctly.
Okay.
And then, so it's the Guelphs and the Ghibellines, which, again, I'm pronouncing it wrong. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But it's spelled Guelphs, so Guelphs. And the Ghibellines is spelled Ghibellines, so, like, it's Ghibellines.
I think that when we do have Steve on this podcast, the entire episode...
he should just be correcting everything that we say.
Well, that's what I was going to say,
Yeah,
is I
he'll-
think everyone has to pick a story with a bunch of words and names that are almost
with
impronounceable
horrible-
and just have him constantly interrupt us.
Have him just, and it'll get old for the audience as it will get old for us. But like, no, Steve is
It has to be done.
a pro at this, and so I'm expecting him to tell me where I fucked up, because I know I did. But as it so often happens, this conflict was tucked up inside a greater conflict between the Vatican and the Holy Roman Empire.
Oh, of course. It's always the HRE and the Vatican.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even worth talking about the fact that it happens all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, the Guelph-Ghibelline conflict is the backdrop for Romeo and Juliet, which was written by a friend of the podcast, old Bill Shakeystaff.
Willie Shakes.
Willie Shakes.
Willie Shakes.
My boy, Willie
Shakes.
Shakes.
He shook a spear, that's for sure. I mean, I was really more impressed by the fact that I decided in my notes to call him friend of the podcast.
I mean, he's a friend to everyone, including the podcast.
He definitely could be.
He's one of those friends, though, that you hate when you first meet him, but he grows on you.
He grows on you, for sure. Because he's just making up nonsense words.
That is true.
That end up being a part of the lexicon later when he's an influencer.
I was talking to someone the other day that was like, what if you had Ralph Waldo Emerson in a room and William Shakespeare, and they're both just making up words at each other?
Yeah.
I would love that. I would pay to see that as a TV show.
You think you would love it until no one can understand what either of them are saying, but they both understand each other somehow.
Okay, so what you're saying is reading the entirety of A Clockwork Orange. Understood.
When the AI gains sentience.
It is literally like two AIs gaining sentience.
At the same time, and you just reset them.
At the same time.
Okay, but again, have you read A Clockwork Orange?
I have not.
I haven't.
And now that you've said it, I don't think I want to.
It's basically like 90% of the entire book is just a made-up slang language that they don't teach you, and you just have to learn as you read it.
See, I'm reading a book right now that's like nice enough to have a glossary in the back, so that when you don't understand things, it's like, this is what that word means, but it also, in the chapters where it uses words you've never heard before, goes, yeah, that's what that means.
See, that's really kind. I wish like there were history stories like that. Like you're reading and it's like, hey, here's an appendix on how to say all of these
Here's
words.
an appendix on how to say gilf right, because now it just sounds like you're saying grandma you'd like to fuck.
Yeah, like, just to give you an
that's
example,
true.
because I'm very adamant about this and it's going to bother me, an excerpt from A Clockwork Orange. Our pockets were full of deng, so there was no real need from the point of view of crafting any more pretty Polly to tall chalk some old Vec in an alley and vidi him swim in his blood while we counted the takings and divided by 4.
Yeah, I'm
in order
not
to
gonna...
do that the ultra-violent on some shivering, starry, gray-haired... Yeah, it doesn't make any sense!
I'm not going to read that book.
I mean, like, I can get the context, right? But that's only based off of, like, the words I know.
Yeah.
All the words that you said that are made up, I was just like, all right, I guess that might mean this. Man, makes me so happy I'm just reading 50 Shades.
Fuck off.
I say sadly.
I have one more sentence in my notes, and it's by far one of my favorite sentences that I've ever written.
Please.
When the war ended, Modena returned some portions of land that it had won from the Bolognese, and it returned exactly 0 buckets.
Okay, but I love that.
Exactly
they decided to keep the bucket for themselves, and they displayed it in a museum.
I don't know if that's better, or it would have been even better and more petty to give them back the land, and then just on the throne in the castle, it's just a bucket
It's just
sitting
a
there.
bucket. It would have. No, I think it, as Indiana Jones would say, it belongs.
It belongs in a museum. You're right. You're right.
That's my story, and I'm glad that we did go down a little bit of a literary rabbit hole.
Yeah, sometimes you need a little.
I wish that we started wars over buckets now instead of the freedom of entire nations.
Yeah. Back to the bucket wars.
Back to the bucket wars.
Bucket war.
But I mean, the good news is that, a much stronger force was defeated by a much smaller force.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, those are good.
Which is like, we're seeing that parallel now, which is nice.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly.
There just needs to be more buckets.
We just need more buckets.
The bucket ratio is
The bucket
off.
ratio is super off. But I also love that the Ukrainians are like, the farmers are just stealing tanks. It's like my favorite
Amen,
thing.
brother.
That's the petty that we need right now, is like a farmer
Oh,
just
God.
taking time out of his busy day to just steal a tank.
He's like, hey, when I'm not growing food to sustain this great nation, I'm stealing tanks to
stealing
sustain
this
great
this great
nation."
nation.
Yeah, I read a meme the other day that was like, at this point, because of all the farmers out there, it's safe to say that most of the military supplies for the Ukrainian defense have come from Russia.
Fuck yeah.
God.
So anyways,
But
That was good, guys.
that was definitely good. I'm gonna
Thanks for your stories.
I'm gonna turn the lights off in the studio in a minute, but I know you guys have have an early morning, so if you guys want to just head out now, I'll address the audience myself.
oh, thanks.
Because I have
appreciate it.
Thanks.
yeah. I mean, say hi to your moms for me.
Yeah, I will.
Audience, I have a matter of dire importance that I need to bring to your attention, and I know we're running only a scooch late here, but it's important that we get all the facts right here. It has been brought to my attention that in a previous episode of this esteemed podcast that we all listen to, Oscar-winning, Emmy-nominated, we'll get it one day, boys, we referred to Steve, who is our good friend, as the pun police. I need you to understand that we spoke in error when we said that. He is not, in fact, the police of puns. He would be the pun slinger, if he could be anything at all. He would just let his pun flag fly. He would just be shooting puns off left and right if he could. So for us to hold this man in such high regard and then to misname him in such a way just felt wrong. But, you know, we make mistakes, and we can only hope for Steve's forgiveness. This bit has gone on far too long, and I would like to bid you all a fond farewell by saying, what the fuck, history?
If you like what you hear from the Triumvirate Productions and What the Fuck History, we encourage you to tell a friend. We don't pay for any ads, so the best way to get us out there is to talk to other people about us. You can find us on Facebook at the Triumvirate Productions, on Twitter at triumvirate_pod, and on Instagram at the_triumvirate_productions.